There are moments when a choice made in silence reveals more about you than years of conscious reflection. Not because the choice is logical or strategic, but because it happens before thought organizes itself, before identity speaks, before explanation interferes. You are standing in front of one of those moments now. In front of you there are 4 eagles. They are not here as symbols of beauty or freedom meant to impress the mind. Each one carries a distinct psychological force, a specific way of seeing, relating, and positioning yourself within life. Before your thoughts begin to analyze wings, height, direction, or meaning, pause. Breathe. Let your awareness rise above explanation. Notice which eagle draws your attention effortlessly. Distance, clarity, unease, admiration, or a quiet sense of recognition. That reaction matters. Do not interpret it. Do not compare it. Do not justify it. The moment you explain your choice is the moment you move away from what this experience is designed to reveal. Long before you learned how to define yourself, something within you already knew how to recognize perspective, vision, and inner distance. The unconscious does not speak in arguments. It communicates through images, sensations, and silent alignment. It does not debate, it reveals. This is why the choice you are making now is not accidental. Whether you realize it consciously or not, it reflects a dominant psychological orientation operating in your life at this moment. As you observe the eagles, notice your inner responses. Perhaps you feel drawn to altitude, perhaps to stillness, perhaps to isolation, perhaps to wide vision. Do not correct any of it. In depth, psychology, even detachment carries meaning. Sometimes we are not drawn to closeness, but to clarity. This experiment works because it bypasses emotional noise and rational control, reaching a deeper layer of the psyche, the layer where perception forms before reaction, where understanding precedes involvement, and where identity is shaped by how you see rather than how you act. Many people spend their lives reacting faster, feeling stronger, or doing more. Fewer learn how to step back far enough to truly see. Now, choose. Do not announce it. Do not explain it. Simply recognize internally which eagle called you. Hold that image gently. Each eagle represents a different way of relating to distance, awareness, responsibility, and inner freedom. No choice is superior or inferior. Each one reveals a psychological strategy the mind developed to survive complexity, confusion, and emotional intensity. This is not a test to predict your future. It is not a label for your personality. It is an invitation to recognize which form of awareness within you is asking for space now. If the first eagle was the one that immediately captured your attention, there is within you a strong connection to vision. You are naturally oriented toward perspective. You see patterns where others see chaos. You sense long-term consequences while others focus on immediate reactions. Emotional distance, for you, is not avoidance. It is a way of maintaining clarity. People aligned with this eagle often feel older than their age. You may have learned early that stepping back allowed you to survive situations that felt overwhelming up close. From a distance you could understand. From a distance you could remain steady. This gives you insight, wisdom, and a calm presence that others often seek. The challenge appears when distance turns into separation. When observation replaces participation entirely, life can begin to feel muted. You may understand everything but feel disconnected from it. Clarity without involvement can slowly become isolation. Growth here does not require abandoning perspective. It requires learning when to descend, when to engage without losing yourself, when to allow emotion without being consumed by it. Stay with this recognition for a moment. Do not rush to define yourself. This process is not about fixing or elevating who you are. It is about noticing how awareness is currently operating within you. If this resonated with you, write in the comments, "I see clearly." And if you want to continue this psychological journey deeper into perception, consciousness, and inner freedom, subscribe. Some insights only emerge when you stay long enough to let them land. If the second eagle was the one that quietly held your attention, your relationship with awareness is precise and contained. You do not seek height for escape, but for orientation. You prefer to understand the landscape before entering it. While others are pulled into emotional currents, You remain steady, mapping the terrain, noticing patterns, anticipating outcomes. Your mind values coherence, your presence values clarity. This eagle represents mental sovereignty. You do not surrender your attention easily. You choose where to place it. You may have learned that confusion dissolves when you rise above it, when you give yourself enough distance to see the whole instead of being trapped in fragments. This gives you discernment and a rare capacity to make decisions that are not driven by pressure. But discernment, when overused, can harden into detachment. You might find yourself understanding people better than you feel them. You may notice that you are often the calmest one in the room, yet not the most connected. When observation replaces vulnerability, life can feel organized but thin. The lesson of this eagle is not to abandon clarity, but to allow selective closeness. Insight gains depth when it is informed by lived experience, not only perspective. Now, if the third eagle was the one that drew you in, your psyche is oriented toward altitude and movement. You feel most alive when you are expanding your field of vision, exploring new ideas, new philosophies, new ways of understanding reality. You are drawn to the big picture. Details matter less than meaning. You are not satisfied with surface explanations. You want to know how everything connects. This eagle represents transcendence. You naturally rise above immediate concerns to seek broader truth. You may feel restless when conversations remain small or repetitive. Your mind looks for coherence beyond the moment, beyond the personal. This gives you inspiration, creativity, and a sense of inner freedom that does not depend on circumstances. Yet here, too, there is a shadow. When altitude becomes constant, grounding is lost. You may feel inspired but unanchored, present but elsewhere, always thinking ahead, rarely inhabiting now. Transcendence without embodiment can lead to disconnection from the body, from emotion, from the simple textures of daily life. Understanding everything does not automatically mean living fully. This eagle invites you to balance vision with presence, to let insight inform action, not replace it, to descend when necessary, not as a loss of freedom, but as a deeper form of it. As you sit with these reflections, notice how each expression of the eagle reveals a different relationship with awareness, one precise, one expansive, one observational. None of them are errors. Each becomes limiting only when it excludes the others. According to Alan Watts, much of human suffering comes from mistaking a useful tool for an identity. Awareness is meant to move. When it becomes fixed, it loses its fluid intelligence. This experience is not asking you to decide who you are. It is inviting you to notice how perception operates within you right now. Awareness does not demand immediate change. It creates space, and in that space, something quietly realigns. Stay with what you recognized. If this resonated, write in the comments, "I allow myself to come closer." And if these reflections are opening something meaningful for you, subscribe. The next layer explores what happens when awareness avoids what it sees, and how integration begins when vision and presence meet. And then there is the fourth eagle. This is the one many people sense but hesitate to choose, not because it lacks clarity, but because it carries the shadow of awareness. This eagle represents vision that learned to protect itself, seeing too much, too early, too clearly, understanding dynamics that others were not ready to acknowledge. When awareness develops under pressure, it often learns to retreat upward, away from emotional immediacy. Those drawn to this eagle often became observers by necessity. You learned that distance offered safety, that understanding the pattern reduced the pain, that seeing ahead allowed you to brace yourself. Over time, awareness became armor. You could name what was happening without having to feel it fully. This is not avoidance in the shallow sense. It is intelligence shaped by experience. But armor, when worn too long, limits movement. This eagle carries controlled vision. You may notice a tendency to intellectualize emotion, to explain what you feel rather than inhabit it. You can describe fear, grief, desire, or anger with impressive clarity, yet feel strangely removed from their intensity. The mind remains elevated, scanning, organizing, protecting. What remains unseen is that protection has a cost. Awareness that never descends becomes lonely. Choosing this eagle does not mean you are disconnected. It means you have learned to manage intensity by rising above it. Integration here does not require surrendering clarity. It requires allowing sensation to catch up with understanding, to let the body feel what the mind already knows. When vision and presence meet, awareness becomes lived rather than observed. At this point, something essential becomes visible. None of these eagles exist alone. You are not perspective only. You are not precision only. You are not transcendence only. You are not guarded awareness only. Each eagle represents a way consciousness has learned to relate to complexity, emotion, and meaning at different moments in your life. Conflict arises when one form of awareness excludes the others. Perspective without participation becomes detachment. Precision without warmth becomes distance. Transcendence without grounding becomes disembodiment. Guarded vision without integration becomes isolation. The deeper work is not choosing the right eagle, but allowing these forms of awareness to recognize one another. As Alan Watts often suggested, suffering intensifies when we try to stand outside life instead of moving with it. Awareness is not meant to hover permanently above experience. It is meant to flow in and out, rising to see clearly and descending to feel fully. Notice how this appears in your daily life. When emotion arises, do you analyze it, transcend it, control it, or allow it to pass through you? These are not mistakes. They are habits of awareness, and habits can be softened once they are seen. This experiment exists to illuminate how you see, not to judge what you see. When awareness becomes conscious of itself, it loosens its grip. Vision becomes flexible. Presence becomes possible. Stay with this recognition. If this resonated, write in the comments, "I allow awareness to descend." And if you want to complete this psychological journey with clarity and integration, subscribe. What follows is not about seeing more, but about learning how to live what you already see. Now that all the eagles have revealed themselves, a quieter question naturally emerges. What happens when these forms of awareness stop competing and begin to cooperate? Most inner conflict does not arise from seeing too little or too much, but from letting one mode of perception dominate while the others are ignored. The choice you made was not an identity. It was a signal. Each eagle represents a way consciousness has learned to relate to the world at this moment in your life. Perspective that seeks clarity. Precision that values coherence. Expansion that looks for meaning beyond the immediate. Guarded awareness that protects itself by staying above intensity. None of these are mistakes. They are adaptations, strategies the psyche developed to navigate complexity, emotion, and uncertainty. The most common trap in self-understanding is over-identification. When you define yourself only as the observer, only as the thinker, only as the visionary, or only as the one who stays above, imbalance appears. Perspective without participation becomes detachment. Precision without warmth becomes distance. Expansion without grounding becomes disembodiment. Guarded awareness without integration becomes isolation. Real growth does not happen when you abandon awareness. It happens when you allow it to move. Look at your life honestly. Where do you step back when engagement is needed? Where do you analyze when feeling would bring clarity? Where do you stay above when presence would bring connection? These patterns are not failures. They are invitations. Awareness begins to mature the moment it recognizes its own habits. From now on, begin to notice how you use distance. When clarity is needed, rise. When connection is needed, descend. When meaning calls, expand. When safety is needed, protect, without disappearing. Wholeness is not choosing one altitude forever. It is learning to move freely between heights. This experiment was never about finding the right eagle. It was about recognizing which one has been leading unconsciously. Once seen, it no longer needs to control from above. Awareness creates space. Space allows choice. Choice allows presence. You do not integrate all at once. You move closer to wholeness each time you let understanding become lived experience. Vision stops being an escape and becomes a guide. Awareness stops hovering and begins participating. If this reflection helped you see yourself more clearly, write in the comments, "I choose presence," not to explain yourself, but to make the process conscious. Sometimes naming a shift allows another person to recognize one they had not yet felt. And if you want to continue exploring these psychological experiments with depth and honesty, subscribe. This journey is not about seeing more. It is about learning how to live fully with what you already see.